We're jumping right in to yet another Ratchet & Clank challenge run. This is by far one of the most requested challenges I've had for the Ratchet series. Can you beat Ratchet & Clank 2 going commando using only the Zodiac? The Zodiac, for those who don't know, is a New Game Plus weapon you buy that costs more than the Rhino 2. I'm just putting it out there, the Rhino 2 is the far superior weapon, fight me. Anyways, the deal with the Zodiac is that it only has 4 shots, which you'd think would make it terrible. But each of those shots are so ungodly powerful that they practically screen wipe. James, this sounds like the most OP weapon in the game. How will this be a challenge? And to that, dear commenter, I show you this. That's a lot of f***ing bolts per shot. I've got to get out of here.
I think you'll find escape is quite impossible.
No, I got it.
Oh, would you like to be in the audience for my infomercial?
Ah!
You all know the rules, but for the sake of the new guys, I'll go over them. The only weapon we can use is the Zodiac. This means we will not be allowed to use the wrench at all against enemies or crates. On top of that, by public demand, we will not be using gadgets to damage enemies. I hear you loud and clear. If we're already in hell, I say we may as well keep going. For the bonus challenge, we will not be allowed to buy armor, which, as you know, will make the endgame near ridiculous levels of impossible. And for a second bonus challenge, we will be beating the impossible challenge. To quickly sum up, we can only use the Zodiac, we cannot use the wrench other than for bolt cranks of course, we cannot use gadgets to damage enemies, and for the 2 bonus challenges, we cannot buy armor and we must complete the impossible challenge. Good god, this could be one of the roughest challenges yet. After some downtime, Ratchet & Clank seems to be bored with day-to-day life. That's when Fizzwidget kidnaps them and requests Ratchet & Clank, well, just Ratchet, to steal back the Protoet, which surely won't have dire consequences later on. After being thrown through boot camp for 2 weeks, Ratchet finally learns how to strafe. Now, I bet you're asking,
but James, how are you going to get the Zodiac on a new game?
MTAR from MattOmega, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I'm immediately telepathically alerted whenever someone is trying to do some kind of ridiculous Ratchet & Clank challenge. More of a curse than a gift, really.
You should definitely get that checked out.
Looks like you're going to need a little bit of help here.
I'll take whatever help I can get.
Well, James, you just so happen to be playing the PS3 version of Going Commando. A port which is generally considered a little... what's the word? Oh yeah, jank. But while there may be a number of things that don't quite look right, this version happens to be compatible with a particularly awesome speedrunning tool, Rackman.
This lets us do all sorts of things, including unlocking weapons whenever we want. There is a downside, the weapons start with 0 ammo, and we've got no way of getting ammo. Normally this wouldn't be a problem, even with ammo costing, that. But halfway through this level, we need to defeat a room of enemies to proceed.
Have no fear, Rackman is here, and with it, we can strategically place ourselves all the way over on Oozla, throw a sneaky 40k in our wallets, economy be damned, and promptly spend it all maxing out our ammo.
I'll be the first to say this is a little cheesy, but when you buy the weapon, you are given full ammo, so I'll have to allow it. We walk back to Uranus and we put Rackman away.
Now, with our weapon filled to the brim, you know what we'll do. Avoid using it at all costs. Hey, this thing costs 10 grand per shot. Can you afford that? Hell, we'll be lucky to clear Uranus with 3.
Now, in this game, there are several paywalls, but as we learned in the other Ratchet challenges, we can rely on enemies to destroy these crates, harvesting those sweet bolts afterwards.
The thief gets away, and after a single, very expensive shot of the Zodiac, we can finish up on Uranus. These doors may seem locked at first glance, but just walking up to them to find that defeating the enemies here really is just only a suggestion. My headcanon is that they see Ratchet holding the Zodiac of all things, and they just know better.
No thanks, I choose life.
Ratchet makes a jump for it, and we follow where the thief was headed. We reach Oozla, and just to remind everyone, ammo does not refill in space, we are still at 3 ammo. With each piece of ammo costing 10,000 bolts, that's a chopper and seeker gun for 1 single shot. It goes without saying that we need to save every single piece of ammo that we can. Now, to save face from the last challenge, we are actually going to skip the Oozler boss. If you jump and do a hyper strike into the goo, you can just barely jump past and through this slight gap in the invisible wall. Aim for the corner here and you should be able to get it after a few tries. We then get the Dynamo, a gadget that activates holograms that we can interact with. This store is filled with enemies, but we can get around them pretty easily. Fizzwidget then contacts us and gives us the coordinates for MTAR, the arena level. Before heading there though, we need to get the tractor beam further in the swamp. This is where I make a shocking discovery. Ammo for the Zodiac drops in crates. This is an insane finding. I guess I never used this weapon enough to notice that ammo can be found. Now, a few caveats. We cannot destroy crates with the Zodiac. Yeah, I'm not joking. This thing can decimate bosses, but cannot break a crate. On top of that, I'm now going to ban thruster pack and charge boot tech to destroy crates, because that's just way too easy. This means that the only way to destroy crates is by baiting enemies into destroying them for us, as we learned we could do last time. After riding on Lapras here, we find this guy, who's gone a teensy bit insane.
Welcome, welcome. If everyone could take their seats, we can proceed with today's demonstration.
I decide to fund his delusions and buy the tractor beam for 1000 bolts. By the way, we're not going to count the space combat levels, as we cannot use the Zodiac in any of these levels, so we're just going to skip over them. Cool? Cool. We reach MTAR, and this level is remarkably pretty alright. There are a few ammo crates littered on the main path. This challenge, above all else, is one in the mastery of ammo management, which luckily we've had quite a bit of practice in. We have no way of getting ammo other than paying a small fortune or getting enemies to give us some. Normally I try to destroy crates and then defeat enemies, but that would be too easy. If we do this, the ammo just won't be for the Zodiac, so each combat encounter is an important decision. Do we use an ammo and hope we won't need it later, or do we save it? This is where me playing the game for almost 18 years comes in very handy. I know all of these levels like the back of my hand, and with that, where almost all of the ammo crates are, we reach the arena. Originally I was petrified of this place, but as we know, ammo drops from crates, and when each shot can clear the room, we don't have a problem here. Now, the Zodiac doesn't exactly clear rooms per se. It will deal ridiculous damage to everything on screen. Knowing this, for the arena, we need to get all the enemies in the wave on screen to maximize each shot. The only enemies that this is real trouble for are the blade bots. They move around a lot, there are a lot of them, and they are very fast. They are, however, very good at helping us refill ammo as they lock onto us. We get an Electrolyer for our troubles, but just for fun, I decided to do all the other challenges here too, which obviously weren't too bad. The arenas in Ratchet 2 do not refill ammo though, so on the final round, make sure to get as much ammo as possible before ending it. Oh, here comes Chainblade. Well, that was anticlimactic. After seeing Clank be tortured, we don't go to help him. Instead, we go off to the jamming array for actual hell. We need to spin 6 bolt cranks. Not normally an issue at all. However, here, to be able to spin the bolt cranks, we need to defeat all the nearby enemies. We end up running out of ammo very quickly, and there just aren't any crates we can get here. But I suddenly remember that there are a couple on one of the platforms. With this, we have just barely enough ammo to take down the final enemies at the bolt cranks. You need to be careful in getting them all in one shot because we truly don't have any ammo to spare. We now race to Indoko to save poor Clank. We need to use our super cool Electrolyer here. Basically, all we need to do is flip the switches at the correct time to allow the charges to flow. Again, while we can get ammo, it's still pretty tough to get, and we can also be at risk of taking damage in the process. I ended up only using the Zodiac when I was overwhelmed by enemies. After a few crane sections, we then find Clank, but we get trapped too.
Son of a quark!
We get a very quick Clank level, and we immediately set Clank to the far superior thruster pack. We do, however, have an issue on the other path. We need to destroy these bins, and as you can probably guess, the Zodiac has met its match. We're going to have to destroy these with the almighty wrench. We can't even aggro enemies towards these as they're too out of range, but it's whatever. After a very close call when we get surrounded, the thug leader decides to fight us. Let's just say it was his last mistake.
Back up! I need backup!
We collect Ratchet Swingshot and Grind Boots because he must have given those to Clank. I then get a little future PTSD and we head to space. We arrive at the remnants of Gadgetron. Ratchet and Clank first use their new old swing shot to get through some of the old ruins, meeting this guy who must have been frozen for at least a few decades, and he sells us the Therminator, which will be very needed on the next level. Barlow has many doors that will only open after defeating all the enemies. Knowing this, we need to keep as much ammo on hand as possible. There are a few ammo crates near the end, so if you do need them, make sure to not defeat the enemies until they've destroyed the crates. We then meet the Desert Riders, who are all pretty friendly. After a quick race, they accept us as one of their own. We defeat the thugs in space to intercept the Thief's review on Thugs for Less' stunning service.
I'm paying top dollar for your protection, and your moron employees are off at some picnic.
Hey, that was a bonding exercise.
Enough!
Honestly, working for this guy doesn't seem like it'd be so bad. We once again just barely miss the thief, with us getting all the blame. This level throws a lot at you. Our biggest weakness isn't so much the enemies, but the number of them. For a start, we only have 4 shots total. We won't be able to buy armor, so we will only be able to take like 2 hits max. And because we need to save ammo, we won't be defeating as many enemies, meaning that our max HP will be a lot lower. The fix to this is, of course, going after the nanotech boosts. These are collectibles hidden in levels. Once collected, they will immediately give you an extra hit point, so it's very important to collect all of these. The rest of the level is no problem at all. However, we can't explode the barrels with the Zodiac, so very not cool. After some Terminator shenanigans, we pick up the thief's last transmission and follow him. We reach the frozen base and hitch a ride on the convoy. A lot of people pointed out that when I made the comparison to Uncharted 2, that I had completely forgotten about the train on Metropolis, and I mean, are those two really comparable? Anyway, we need to be very careful here. We have very limited ammo and need to defeat lots of enemies to proceed to the next truck. We can aggro some blade bots about halfway through to get a bit of extra ammo, but make sure you don't die because the ammo crates won't respawn. We also need to fight the thief a couple of times, but do I really have to say it? The thief then presses the launch button, which doesn't do anything, and we actually destroy him. Make sure you skip this cutscene or Ratchet will use the Lancer, failing the challenge completely. Good old Fizz Widget decides to drop in, and then he kicks us from the chat. Clank's a little riled up, but we need to get out of these caves. This is where the Zodiac becomes a lot worse as our only weapon. The enemies are all really split up, and these enemies are really tough to move towards the ammo crates. So we want to be careful with ammo here. Clank gets a brain teaser.
Let's see. If you break the glass with the...
Solved it.
He's acting like the wrench upgrade is going to actually be useful. We then get confronted by the thief, who turns out to be Angela Cross, and before we get any explanation from her, we get to watch a nice healthy ad.
Oh no! Good thing that wasn't little Susie.
We then find out that our ship has been salvaged by the crazy monk guru, and he wants us to collect 10 crystals found in the desert, and then we can get our ship. Now, the Zodiac can't destroy these crystals, so you'd be quite right in thinking we're screwed. But as the purists will know, we can defeat these giant beasts and salvage their fallen corpses for minerals. Oh damn, the emulator really isn't liking this level. Are you okay, Vic? Ow, Before leaving, make sure to pick up the glider gadget and on top of that, the nanotech boost. We reach the Megacorp facility. The inside location is a pseudo stealth section where we have to avoid a few spotlights. This one area is still better than all of Secret Agent Clank. We need to keep some ammo on hand to destroy this tank. After doing so, we can then reach the console. We call tech support, but realise they're tech support. We'll need to do this ourselves. But before that, we use our epic Ratchet skills to get the nanotech boost, and we then need to spend 10,000 bolts to unlock the next level.
What? Now even the computers are charging us? That's it. This galaxy blows.
We next need to explore the outside and fight our way through the small army. This is also pretty okay. The tanks need to be destroyed to proceed again, but there are plenty of crates. And the enemies here are ranged fighters, meaning that they will be shooting at us, making it easy to bait those bullets into crates. After a little giant Clank gameplay, we meet the categorically best character in the series, the mathematician.
Guess all the good names were taken.
Before even starting Joba proper, we need to quickly jump into the races and meet some locals.
Can't see my own hand in front of my face without these.
No problem.
This race is the far better one because we get the cool weapons here. And for our efforts, we get the charge boots.
They'll look real nice with your outfit.
Red on green, what the hell are you talking about? But now we need to climb up the mountain and head to the arena. For once, this climb isn't too bad. We first obviously get that sweet nanotech boost, but all we've got to do is shoot once and the group of enemies is cleared. We don't even need to use the turrets. The doors will blast open if you press the button. There will be enemies behind said doors, so be sure to jump out of the way. We then find the Rhino salesman from Ratchet 1, and he's gotten taller. He sells us the levitator, which allows us to use Clank as a jetpack. This does cost 20,000 bolts, which hopefully you have. The arena is up next. The first fight is more the same as on MTAR. We need to destroy the ammo crates when we get low by basing enemies. This is no problem. It's the cage match afterwards that could prove very troubling. The Zodiac doesn't work as it should on this surface for some reason. We need the enemies to be at the same angle we are for it to defeat them. Luckily, after a few waves, meteors will fly up to us. We can bait enemies into these and they will explode. Just do this for a few minutes and we get the Infiltrator. We will be coming back here later, but I kinda want a bit more health before tackling the impossible challenge. We reach my favourite planet, Todano, half because it's a cool missile facility and half the incredible music. Like, listen to that shit. We then also get to use legitimately my favourite hacker tool, the Infiltrator. What's everyone's thoughts on this one? I know it's just spamming directions, but I've always liked it. We can use our charge boots to get through the minefields, and we fight our way through a missile warehouse. These rooms will have wave after wave of enemies spawning in, and due to our lack of ammo, we can't really defeat them. But we can quite easily run past most of them and use the Infiltrator. Just be careful because it'll only take 3 hits for them to kill us. We get a transmission from Angela and witness child torture courtesy of Megacorp. Now, anyone who's watched one of these runs before will know that Bolton is normally one of the hardest levels in the game. It's a heavy combat level with lots of enemies all around you, but this kind of combat is the Zodiac's specialty. A single shot will wipe out full streets of these enemies. It's actually insane just how many enemies this thing can kill with a single shot. The most difficult section are these walking down the sides of buildings bits, but that's only because the Zodiac isn't effective against an individual enemy, so we need to kind of jump around them. We find Robo Fizzwidget and get captured by Thugs for Less. We wake up in solitary confinement, and Clank's done a complete search of the cell.
And I'm afraid that there is absolutely no means of escape. Except that.
Someone's got a girlfriend.
I will be right back.
Don't stop for anything along the way.
Here we will be swapping between Clank and Ratchet, as each of them help the other to proceed. This level is pretty tough as Ratchet. The enemies are only in small groups, meaning that we will have to run past most of them. We even get a new wrench here, not like that's useful in the slightest. We then meet back up with Clank on the outside, before a bit more levitating, and we find out 2 things about Angela. The first is that she's been kidnapped. The second...
And she does a terrible cat impression?
And we have to save her. We reach one of the hardest levels in the game, but this time it's kinda manageable. I mean, yeah, of course we can't get hit and we die very quickly, but when each shot is a screen wipe, the level's not too bad. Now, it's not like we can be insane with it, but there are a couple ammo boxes around. A really quick note, make sure to not have enemies destroy this health crate, or loads of enemies will spawn in and you won't be able to proceed. We do need to get them to destroy this crate at the end, but after one final shot, we need to take down the mech, and I'm committed. We're taking this guy down with the Zodiac, but first we need to die. We've taken way too much damage for me to want to even attempt the boss. Now that the boss is active, there will be some extra ammo crates around. The easiest way to destroy them is to leave the mech on over and get near the legs. This will result in several shockwave bombs being launched at you, destroying any crates nearby. The Zodiac does actually deal a decent amount of damage here, so after a few extra crates, we can beat the Thug Mech with just the Zodiac. Again, make sure to skip this cutscene too before Ratchet uses the Lancer again. From this area onwards, we will be needing to collect 3 pieces of the Hypnomatic. This is a necessary gadget we will be making use of in the final third of the game. These pieces are located on Smolg, Grelvin, and Damacell. We first fly through the shipping area. We will need to be using the Zodiac a couple of times to be able to proceed, but nothing too difficult. We do, however, need to give this guy 40,000 bolts to get Damacell. Normally I'd make a big deal out of this, but for this challenge that's just 4 ammo. He then proceeds to eat our money and hands us the coordinates for Damacell. After that, we still have stuff to collect here. We enter the actual shipping facility. This area could be serious trouble. The enemies are pretty easy to avoid, but about halfway through the level, we need to deal with this room, where we need to defeat several waves of enemies to proceed, and they will only come out a few at a time. I wasn't too sure if we'd have enough ammo, but the enemies are actually spawned in, they're just inside the crates. This means that the single Zodiac shot defeats all of them, just barely saving us. We collect both the Hypnomatic part and the coordinates for Grelvin. We reach Grelvin, which is where we need to collect Moonstones. This is where things get bad, because we can't actually collect them, and unlike Tabora, we only have access to a small portion of the level, making collecting this past the Hypnomatic impossible. Even if we could get the Hypnomatic, that no damaging enemies with gadgets rule would be broken, so I guess we'll just have to skip this level with a high jump here. Haters will say it was my plan from the beginning. Before we head to Yeedle, we've got one final stop. We are going to try to complete the entire arena and the impossible challenge, which does get pretty tough. As mentioned previously, when in cage matches, we want to damage the enemies with the meteors rather than our Zodiac. We can even defeat both of the bosses. I was really worried about this boss that I can't remember the name of. Normally you damage him a bit at a time and then destroy that part of him that comes off. With the Zodiac you can completely bypass this and just blow him up. It seems like we're making amazing progress until we aren't. That's right, we get stopped by a wrench-only arena challenge, and there's no way to get past wave 1, meaning that unfortunately we have failed one of the bonus challenges. Now, even if we did have the Hypnomatic, we'd still not be able to use it here. We're going to have to skip the first half of this level using funny collision detection. I jump onto this ledge and run across the wall. I jump onto the rocks and charge boot across. We can then high jump onto the mountain sides to the top, line up and charge boot towards the building. We can then walk along the slanted wall and walk through the rocks. Walk up to the top, line up like this and charge boot into the void and try to land on the teleporter. And there you go. The middle of this level isn't too hard actually. We do have to run away from most things. The only real thing to mention is that there are 2 tanks that need to be taken out near the end. Make sure you aren't behind this cover or the enemies just won't be destroyed. The good captain fulfills his contractual obligations and then is eaten alive. We need to take down the King Protoet. I went into this fight thinking that it was going to be easy, but no. The King Protoet in this challenge is one of the hardest bosses I've ever played. For a start, that is not a loss of damage. We do get ammo crates that respawn, but if they break open, about 50 Protopets will spawn in. We do get ammo crates that respawn. We can break them open by getting the Protopet to roll over them, but as soon as they break open, about 50 Protopets will spawn in, and you need to take down all of them once just to break even with the ammo. And considering that we only have 4 ammo and to get more we need to spawn in more Protopets, this does not bode well. Not only is this fight ridiculously long, but we die in 3 hits because of the whole no armor thing. If you die at all, you need to make sure to reload the save file so that you get your original 4 ammo back. When the Protopet eats the dynamo bomb, run up close behind him. The meteors will damage him a lot. This is a very dangerous tactic, but oh wow. The Protopet will go down with a bit of time, but it did take me about 2 hours. With the Protopet turned back, Captain Quark gets what he deserves for this hell, and the Ratchet & Clank 2 Going Commando Zodiac only challenge is complete. Thanks for coming along, Matt. I couldn't have done this challenge without you. Do you want to tell the viewers about what you do?
Oh, thanks for having me, James. As for me, I do my own challenge runs, let's plays, and any other random thing I feel like making. Feel free to drop on by, but until then, I'll see you guys later.
Definitely make sure you check him out. He was a pleasure working with. He's returned to YouTube and the algorithm isn't doing him favors right now. Also, I'm still working on that Q&A video, which will probably be the 4K sub special. Oops. I've received a few questions, but if you have any, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Thank you to all YouTube members, I appreciate every single one of you. A specific thank you to Al Gore, Bento Baker Primordius, Friendly Neighborhood Lurker, Invigil, Multibrad X, No One, VenderGames012 on YTB, _XXPitters98XX_, and thank you for watching the full video.